Hello, everyone, and welcome to AADL TV, brought to you by the Ann Arbor District Library. Today, we're going to be talking about a genealogy resource called FamilySearch. And FamilySearch is a free resource. You do have to set up an account, but setting up an account is very easy. This is a website that's provided by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So let's get started. What can you do in FamilySearch, a fantastic genealogy resource? Let's look at all the things that you can do by using FamilySearch.org. You can search their database of genealogy records. You can also search for records by a geographical location. You can browse digitized images of records that may not have been indexed. You can use the FamilySearch Wiki. You can also join special interest groups in the FamilySearch Communities, and there you can post questions about your research in particular areas. And we'll also talk about building a family tree using FamilySearch. So the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to create a FamilySearch.org account if you don't already have one, and it's very easy. What you need to do is you just need to put in your name, and they will ask you for your birth date. And then you pick a password and you put in an email address. And then you'll get an email that reminds you to activate your account for FamilySearch. And then you'll complete your registration. And off you go. You're all ready to use FamilySearch for your genealogy research. So the first thing you'll do when you go to FamilySearch is you'll sign in with the username and the password that you just set up. I'm going to talk a little bit about setting up a family tree in FamilySearch. I've posted 2 other videos to AADL TV so far on genealogy resources, and those were on Ancestry Library Edition and also My Heritage Library Edition. Both of those platforms, in addition to the genealogy records that you can find, you can also build your family tree on those platforms. Likewise, you can do the same thing on FamilySearch. And so since we're discussing FamilySearch today, I'm also going to show you how to use FamilySearch to set up a family tree where you can record the information that you find as you search the records on FamilySearch.org. There are a lot of free resources, though, for creating a family tree software, either online platforms that you can use for free or software packages that you can download to your computer to create family trees. So FamilySearch is just one way to create a family tree, but I will show you how to do that today in conjunction with showing you all the other fantastic resources that FamilySearch has to offer. So let's go ahead and set up a family tree. So we'll click on Family Tree up at the top menu. And if you already have a family tree set up in FamilySearch, which I do, I'm going to need to add an unconnected person to add a new family tree into my account at FamilySearch, into the tree that I've already established with FamilySearch. So today, who we're going to use as our research subject is Jimmy Hoffa. Isn't that a good mystery that people, especially here in Michigan, what happened to Jimmy Hoffa? So today we're going to use Jimmy Hoffa as our research subject. So I usually start my research off with a simple Google search, the name in quotations, and obit. I don't even write out obituary, I just put obit. So we're going to search for Jimmy Hoffa and obit. Now with Jimmy Hoffa, since he disappeared, we're really not going to get any hits for an obituary for Jimmy Hoffa because, there wasn't a concrete death date. He just disappeared and was never seen from before. But we do get a nice Jimmy Hoffa Wikipedia hit when we conduct our search. So let's take a look at that. So this tells us that his name is James Riddle Hoffa, that he was born February 14th, 1913, and he disappeared in 1975 and was declared dead in 1982. So this is great. This gives us his full name. James Riddle is his first and middle name. And then let's go down and click on early life and family to see what other information that might give us as well. So this tells us that he was born in Brazil, Indiana, and his parents are James and Viola Hoffa, and that Viola's maiden name is Riddle. tells us that his father was of Pennsylvania Dutch descent. It just tells us that his father died in 1920 when Jimmy Hoffa was only 7 years old. His mother's of Irish ancestry. The family moved to Detroit in 1924. So this gives us a lot of really great basic information for starting a research that we're going to do today in FamilySearch. The search that I have just done in Google, the equivalent for you, if you're researching your family, would be to talk to your relatives, talk to the oldest relatives that are still with us, maybe look at paperwork that you might have, obituary information, some other documents that you actually might have on file. And so that will be your starting basis point for gathering information. Who are your parents? Who are your grandparents? Maybe who are your great-great-grandparents if you're lucky enough to have that or know people that have that information for you. So now we're going to go back to our tree where, in my case, I'm adding an unconnected person because I do already have a family tree set up. In your case, if you don't have a family tree, you'd just be adding a person. You'd be adding your starting person. And we know this will be James Riddle Hoffa. He was born February 14th, 1913 in Brazil, Indiana. And so that gives us the basis, the starting point for our tree. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see that FamilySearch is saying, hey, we might have a match for you. We might have already found some research that has already been done for you. And so if you wanted to, you could go ahead and accept this information. So if you thought this was correct, you could say, yes, I think this is a match. We're just going to start from scratch here, and we're going to fill this in ourselves. He did indeed, in the Wikipedia, did say that he married someone by the name of Josephine, and so that likely is true, but let's just do our own research in FamilySearch today. So I've put Jimmy Hoffa in as the base person in my family tree, and now I'm going to view the family tree by clicking on the pedigree view icon in the upper right. And so here's what we see. We say James Riddle Hoffa, and so far we don't have any other information put in, but let's go ahead and see what we can find out on Jimmy Hoffa today. So what we're going to do is we're going to search in the upper menu of FamilySearch, and we're going to search the records. So this is a basis for how you access records that have been indexed at FamilySearch.org. So we're going to search the records, and it brings up this page where we can now fill in the information for who we're looking for. So I'm going to keep my search broad. I'm not going to put Riddle for the middle name. I'm going to keep it a little bit more open-ended. I'm going to just search for James Hoffa. I'm going to say he was born in Indiana, but I'm not going to say Brazil, Indiana, because if there's a record that shows just Indiana and not Brazil, Indiana, then I might not get that hit. So I want to keep my search broad. Likewise, even though we feel that we know that his birth year is 1913, I'm going to put in a range. With the census can easily be off a year one way or the other for census records. So that's another good reason to put in a range. So I'm just going to do a very broad search that's going to, so specific enough that you're going to get who you're looking for, but broad enough that you won't eliminate results that would be meaningful to you that you would never know about if you constructed your search in too restrictive a manner. So let's see what we come up with. So here's a hit right at the top for James Hoffa in the 1920 census. And indeed, he is residing in Brazil, Indiana, with his parents and likely some siblings. So let's take a look at that record. What I want to show you is over on the right-hand side, there will be some icons. The first icon is the family tree icon. This would give you, this says somebody has already created a family tree for James Hoffa. Maybe you want to go look at that family tree. The next icon on the right-hand side of a record is where you can view the record details. And then on the far right is where you can view the image of this record, an actual image of the original record. So let's go back. Let's view the attached tree for this person. So if we click on that, we'll see that somebody has already created a tree for James Riddle Hoffa. And here's what it looks like. So if we were doing what are called in the genetic genealogy world, quick and dirty trees, I might use this. I haven't documented, I haven't done the research, somebody else has. It may or may not be accurate, but I could use this as a basis for a family tree that is not definite in terms of accuracy. So let's view the record details. So the record details will give us transcription of the record. So here's a transcription of Jimmy Hoffa in the 1920 census with his mother and his father and some siblings. And you can see down at the bottom that there's a Jacob Hoffa, who is the father of the head of the household. So that's going to be John Hoffa's father, or Jimmy Hoffa's paternal grandfather. And then from this screen, we can also go ahead and view the original document as well. So let's do that. So you can see that this is hard to read. And over on the left-hand side, we can increase or decrease the zooming of the image. And on the right hand, in the upper right, you can print the document, you can save it to your computer, and then the tools are simply tools for tweaking the image itself. You can invert the black and white, you can rotate it, you can adjust the contrast on it. So let's take a closer image. So we're going to zoom in on this, and we see down at the bottom of the census record, we see John Hoffa and his wife Viola, and we see a daughter, a son, another son, which is Jimmy Hoffa. And then we have another daughter. And then lastly, as mentioned, we see the father. So this is going to be the father of the head of the household. So we know that this is, again, Jimmy Hoffa's paternal grandfather. They're all born in Indiana. It gives us the ages. And so now we have information. We can go back to our family tree and we can add in Jimmy Hoffa's mother and father. So we're starting to build out our family tree now using FamilySearch. So we're going to put in his father, and his father's name is John Hoffa. And based on the census, it gave us his age. And from the age, we can tell about what year his father was likely born. We can also add in John Hoffa's father, because we know that's Jacob Hoffa, because he showed up in the census. And so we can put Jacob in and also estimate his birth year based on his age in the census. And so now you can see we're starting to flesh out our family tree using FamilySearch records. So here's another record for Jimmy Hoffa. As you recall in the Wikipedia, it mentioned that his father died when Jimmy Hoffa was young. And so we see just in this transcription that it mentions his mother, but it doesn't mention his father. And now they're no longer in Indiana. Now they've moved up to Wayne County, so Detroit, Michigan. So let's take a look at this record and see what's going on. So we see now Viola Hoffa is the head of the household. And let's take a look at the actual record and see what information this will give us. I also want to mention before I do that, if I click on Viola Hoffa, it will take me to the transcription of her information. And so that's what we're seeing here. And she shows up as widowed. She's 40 years old and she's now widowed and is now living in Michigan. We last saw them in Indiana, but now they've moved up to Michigan. And so now here's the Jimmy Hoffa household. His mother is heading the household. She's a widow. And so it gives us a lot of good information. And we can also take a closer look here, and it might give us some information. Why did they move up here? And they may have moved up here for jobs. So when you're looking at records, you might also want to keep in mind historical context. So in 1930, now we're into the Great Depression. The head of the household, the father has died. So circumstances may have forced them to go where they can find some jobs. So Viola shows as not having an occupation, but one of her children is working in a plating shop, one is working in a department store, and another is working in a grocery store. So now we start to get a little bit of historical context about what might be going on with the family. They're hitting some hard times. The country is going through a very difficult time now, and they're undoubtedly going through a very difficult time as well. Viola is widowed at age 40 and has a family to support. So it just gives some interesting context to the genealogy of Jimmy Hoffa. And we can see the ages here. So the mother is 40 years old. We see the children that are living with her are 18, 17, and 14. And we see even the 14-year-old does have a job. So that's one of the daughters, and she's working as a sales girl in the grocery store. If we go back to our search results, here we see Jimmy Hoffa in the 1940 census. He's in Detroit. He was born in Indiana. It shows 1913, so we can be reasonably certain that's the Jimmy Hoffa that we're looking for. And now it shows that he's married. He has a spouse, and her name is Josephine. And that sounds right to us because we did see that he had married somebody with the name of Josephine. Now, here I've tweaked my search a little bit. So just for kicks, I put in Jimmy Hoffa instead of James, just in case later in life, maybe he really did go more by Jimmy. I've taken out his birthplace. I've left the birth range in, and I've put in his spouse as Josephine. So I'm just illustrating here how you can tweak your search, put information in, take information out, as you see that you're getting the results that you want, or maybe you can see that you weren't restrictive enough or you were too restrictive. So here we get some results. And for example, we get a marriage record for a James Hoffa. Now, we might not have gotten this marriage record. If I had left his birthplace in as Indiana, we might not have gotten this marriage record because it doesn't reflect his birthplace as being Indiana. So here we have a marriage record, and let's take a closer look at this. It gives his parents' names, James Hoffa and Viola Riddle. And here is the actual marriage record. And you can see this gives us a lot of great information. Let's take a closer look. You can see on the left, it gives the information about Jimmy Hoffa. Where is he residing? Has he ever been married before? Where was his place of birth? Who are his parents? A lot of fantastic information, his occupation. And then the same thing on the right-hand side for his wife. Who are her parents? Has she been married before? So a lot of fantastic information. So we spent a lot of time on census records, but FamilySearch is by no means limited to census records. Here's another fantastic record, a marriage record. And FamilySearch isn't limited to census and marriage records. There are just a lot of different records that you can access on FamilySearch, as you can with the other big databases, Ancestry, Library Edition, and MyHeritage Library Edition. Just tons of great information and documents that you can access, immigration records, military records. So now I want to move on, though. There's so much to be able to do at FamilySearch that I want to show you some of the other features. I feel like you've probably gotten a good background of how you do searches, how you search the index records. So now let's take a look at searching the catalog at FamilySearch.org. So to do that, we're going to search and then click on catalog, and it will bring us to this screen. And I'm going to choose to search on a place. So this is now going to go by geography versus searching on somebody's name. So let's use Washtenaw County as our place. Let's see what kind of records FamilySearch.org has for Washtenaw County. So if I start typing in Washtenaw, there aren't too many places that start with W-A-S-H-T. So once I get to that, they're like, we think you mean Washtenaw County. And indeed we do. So let's go take a look. And here are all the records that pop up that they say these are all the different records that we have in our database that pertain to Washtenaw County, Michigan. We have census records, we have land records, we have naturalization records. Down at the bottom, we have vital records. Those are the really great meat and potatoes of genealogy. That's your birth, marriage, and death records. So let's take a look and see what kind of vital records FamilySearch does have for Washtenaw County. And you can see they have birth records, marriage records, and some other vital records. So let's take a look at the birth records. Let's see what we can find in terms of birth records. And so if we click on that, then it tells us specifically what we would need to click on to see birth records for a specific time period. So down at the bottom, you can see the second one on the list down at the bottom, you can see is birth records for 1881 to 1888. So if that's the time frame that I'm looking for, that's what I would click on. I want to give a quick explanation of the icons that show up on the right of this list of resources. The magnifying glass means that this is searchable online. So if there's a name that you're looking for, you could go back to search the records like we did previously, and you could search online. You could search for Jimmy Hoffa and the Washtenaw County records. On the far right, if you get something that looks like a roll of film, that means that's available only at a family history center. We have a family history center in Saline, Michigan. That's the closest one to us here in Ann Arbor. And then the middle icon means that it may not be indexed, but if it's not indexed, you can browse the images online at home. Now, sometimes when you browse the images will include an index of the records that were filmed. It's just that these records may not be indexed. So here's an example of what I'm talking about, of records that you might be able to find by browsing images, but they are not indexed. So this is a Michigan record, and this was something that allowed me to really finalize the solving of an adoption case. Typically adoption records are not readily available, but here I was kind of able to kind of sneak in, and I see the adoption and a change of name for two children, Bertha Leora Manch and Helen Manch. And so this was really instrumental. But I want to show you how I would not be able to have found these through searching the records. So this is one where I had to go into the record database. I had to search through the catalog for the geographic location where I thought this event took place. And I had to get it that way. So I had to do a little bit more work than just searching for it. So let me illustrate that for you. If I come back to searching the records and I search for Bertha Leora Manch, you'll see I don't get any matches. They're close, but it's not Bertha Leora Manch, and I'm not seeing any records in Michigan. And we know it should show up as Bertha Leora Manch because that's how she does show up in the record that we just looked at. And if I tell it I want it to be exactly Bertha Leora Manch, you can see I get no results whatsoever. But yet, if we go back here indeed is the record that I was able to pull up on FamilySearch for Bertha Leora Manch. So it's just a wonderful resource. Don't overlook this because you really might be skipping over some really valuable records if you have kind of a thorny genealogical problem that you're trying to solve. Another thing that you can do at FamilySearch is you can search genealogies, and these would be family trees that other people have created. And so here we'll go to search and then click on genealogies. And it brings us to this screen where we can enter our search terms. So let's go ahead and search on a James Hoffa, born in Indiana, with the range of 1911 to 1915. And here's the results that we get with that search. So you can see that there are a lot of family trees here on FamilySearch that have been created for Jimmy Hoffa. So again, maybe you've already done your research and you just want to see how it compares with other family trees that have been created. Does their information agree with yours? Is there something maybe that you missed? Is there maybe something that they're missing? Or again, if you wanted to do a quick and dirty tree and you don't want to do the research yourself, but you also accept the risk that those family trees may not be accurate, you can also use these resources. Another fantastic resource at FamilySearch is books. You can look at books online at FamilySearch. And to do that, we're going to go up and click on books at the top of the screen. And again, let's look for Jimmy Hoffa. Are there any books out there on FamilySearch that have to do with Jimmy Hoffa? And indeed, we do get some hits. The top one is Hoffa family history that somebody has put together. So this could be another great resource for researching Jimmy Hoffa, or for you researching your family or whatever lines you are researching. You can also simply view images, just browse images at FamilySearch. So let's take a look at that. So we would go again to search and we'll search our images. And then you can explore historical images. So in our case, if we wanted to see what kinds of images FamilySearch has that relate to Ann Arbor, we'll type in Ann Arbor, and then it gives us these options of the specific location and some date ranges also to delineate the different categories that we can look at here. And so here we see some of the records that we could browse. Again, so we're not going to be able to search by name. They may or may not have any indexes connected with them, but these also can be really valuable resources for our research. Another really fantastic resource at FamilySearch is called Research Wiki. Research Wiki is really great for searching genealogy resources for a particular location. So we're going to go again to search, and at the bottom we're going to click on Research Wiki. And here we get a world map, and then we can click, for example, if we're doing a research in the United States, we would click on North America. But let's say that I'm doing some research on my family lines and it's in Romania, and gosh, how do you do genealogy research in Romania? Well, FamilySearch Wiki will give you all sorts of wonderful suggestions on how you can conduct your family research anywhere in the world. So in our case, we would click on Europe, and then we'll come down and click on Romania, and it will take us to this page. It'll say Romanian genealogy. Here are all the different resources that you can use for your research. So it gives you a lot of links. You can do a link for beginning Romanian research, starting your research in Romania. We can come down and we can look at some specifics about Romania. How is it set up? It tells us, okay, it has 41 counties. It gives us a link to the Romanian National Archives. It gives us a link down at the bottom to Facebook communities that we might want to check out to interact with other people about how do you do Romanian research. So this is really a fantastic resource if you want to especially trace and research your ancestors before they lived in the United States. So a really fantastic resource. And then the last resource that I'd like to go over with you is also extremely valuable, and it's the FamilySearch Communities. And the FamilySearch Communities are a way that you can join any number of these. They're basically message boards where you can reach out. So for example, it's quite likely they have a research board that covers Romania. If they don't want to have one specifically for Romania, maybe it's under Eastern European, but just about anywhere in the world that you would want to research, you can find one of these FamilySearch communities. So you can join them, and then you can do things like you could post a record if it's in a language that you are unable to translate. And often people then will post back with a translation for you. Or if you have general questions like, how would I get a marriage record from 1918 in Romania? Those are the types of questions that you can ask in the FamilySearch communities. So you can see that FamilySearch just has an amazing number of resources for those of us who are keen to do some genealogy research on our lines or for any other lines that you might be researching. Thank you for joining me, and I hope this was helpful to you.